Hi, I'm Katie. Welcome to Yoga Awakening and welcome to your Yin Yoga practice. This is a practice for focus. So alertness, building a little bit of a sense of aliveness. And I really love this about Yin Yoga, and I love to teach this about Yin Yoga, that it isn't just about relaxation or calming. It can also be about creating awareness and focus and purpose and even a little bit of stimulation and alertness and aliveness. So that's what we'll explore today. You'll need a couple of props for our class. I suggest having 2 blocks if you have those. You can, as always, use anything you have around the house as a substitute, anything firm, maybe 2 things of equal height. Some nice big books would be great. And then we'll also use a blanket in one of the shapes. So I have here this style of blanket, and then I have kind of a regular blanket from the bed, so anything like that would be great. And we'll get started here in our seat. So come into your seat of choice, cross-legged or maybe hips to heels. And you could certainly grab a blanket to prop the hips up. Feel the sitting bones connecting down into the prop underneath you, into your mat. So in this practice, we're building focus. We're building a sense of alertness. So maybe you've chosen this practice because you're feeling like you need a little bit of that. And what's so nice about doing Yin Yoga is that we don't need so much physical energy. Maybe the body's a little bit tired or achy from a different physical practice you've been doing. But maybe you're still wanting to connect to some of that sense of focus and clarity. Let's take a moment just to check in with the body and the breath. Notice whatever you've arrived with on the mat. Then we'll come into our first shape, which will be a seated twist. You always have the option, if the leg variation that I offer isn't quite right for you, of just coming into your regular seated twist from your Sukhasana. Otherwise, we'll bring the legs into our Ardha Matsyendrasana shape. So I have left knee down and right knee up. And then the right foot can come either to the outside of the left thigh or to the inside. And we're going to want our blanket prop for this one. I'm also sitting up in a blanket here, so you could have 2 blankets as well if you can find those around the house. And then I'm going to take my blanket and roll it up just maybe about 2 inches, not very much. And I'm going to bring that right in to the right hip crease. And you can really kind of snuggle it down there as far as it will go. So the closer you can snuggle it in, the better. And then I'll lift the right knee back up. Use your hands to support as we get started. So we're creating just a little bit of a healthy compression here. creating a little bit of awareness through the lower abdomen, right? So hopefully you're feeling maybe just a gentle compression there on the right side of the abdomen. If it feels like too much, you can just do this pose without the prop. Set it off to the side. This is nice for digestion. Bringing a little bit of healthy compression to the belly. Great, and we'll take it into our twist. So left elbow around, right hand comes behind. You can always unroll that blanket roll a little if you want a little less. If you need a little more, you can roll it up another inch or so. We'll be here just for about a minute. See if you can breathe the breath down into that roll. Feel the belly push it away as you inhale. Soften it a little more as you exhale. Make your way out of your twist. We'll release the legs, we'll release the roll, then we'll take that over to the second side. So left knee comes up now, right knee down, planting through the left foot, and then I'll add my roll again, open up the legs and the hip space enough that you can snuggle that in. And then hands come back to the left knee to start. So notice here, maybe if you need to adjust the roll a little bit. And then right elbow to the knee, left hand behind. Feel the belly press into the roll. Soften the muscles of the face. So we're nice and easy here in our twist, not forcing with the arms or hands. You can close the eyes as much as you like here throughout the practice. Maybe you're just opening them to check on what I'm doing as we change our pose. Make your way out of the shape. We'll release the legs and you can set your roll off to the side. And then you might possibly want that blanket, or if you have two, I'll just use my second one, for our next shape, which will be dragon pose. So you could use this for the knees. We'll take it over to the right side first. So through your tabletop, right foot steps forward. And then I really like to have my blocks here. And they could be on maybe the middle height or the highest height. I'm going to opt for the highest height here so I can kind of take my body out of the shape just a little bit, so that I'm not kind of coming all the way into the fullest, deepest range of motion that I have, but backing off a little bit so I can find something gentler, something more like a tug, so that I can let the time take me into it. And this can be a bit of an intense one for some people. It certainly can be for me, so as long as it's not too intense, see if you can just be there with that sensation. We have some more upright poses you might notice in this class, and maybe not always the poses we think of first when we think of yin, but our idea is still the same, to allow the muscles to relax. And hopefully here you can start to cultivate that focus, maybe by allowing the attention to rest there with the sensation. Right, so focusing into the body. See if you can find that place where there's both calm and alertness, right? So we're not falling asleep or daydreaming, but we're coming right in to this experience of being in the pose. Just a couple more moments here. We won't be here too much longer. Let go of a little bit more muscular tension if you can, if it feels okay. And then we'll come on out, move really slowly. Let this transition be part of the experience of the pose. That's really where we can help ourselves to build focus, to build that sense of awareness. And then I'll set my blocks off to the side, and I'll bring the right foot over towards the left. We're making our way into our swan pose. So I like to come onto the top of the back foot. And then it's great here if you have that blanket from your knees to actually just fold it in half again, bring it right underneath for the right hip. And again, we're going to stay lifted here. Shorter holds. So you can allow yourself to drop a little bit down into the shoulders. There's no need to find the perfect idea of the shape. I'm using the hands as a sort of kickstand. Honing in on the sensation. And it doesn't need to be intense sensation to do that. In fact, probably a lot easier to hone in when it's not too intense. So So back off if it is. We'll make our way out. Send it into a tabletop. So right knee comes to meet the left. Check in with any differences here, maybe between the right and the left sides. And then I'll spread my blanket out again for the knees. We'll take that into our dragon second side. So get settled in the shape and then come into stillness. Join me here for a few moments in stillness. Soften the muscles around the hips if you can, if it feels okay in the body. And this is a pose where we often don't have too much trouble focusing in on the sensation. But that can be sort of a blessing if we're looking for that kind of alertness and aliveness in the body. A few more moments here. Start to lift the hips, send them a little bit further back. Again, let this be part of the experience of the pose. There might even be a feeling of soreness there, and that's okay. That's what we're looking for sometimes in our yin yoga. And then left foot over to the right. I'll fold up my blanket for the left hip. Lifted swan. Focus the attention there on the place where you feel the most sensation. And then from that place, so maybe that's somewhere around the left hip, see if you can allow your attention and focus to spread. Start to spread that focus throughout the rest of the body, radiating that focus through the rest of the body. What else do you notice? Make your way out of the pose. Once again, the attention continues even through the transition. You can set your blanket off to the side, and I'll grab one of my blocks. You could fold up a blanket as well if that is what you have handy, and I'll bring it to the top of my mat to support the head in our next stretch. And this will be a stretch for the pecs, so the chest area. I'm going to come on down to my right side, and then I'll adjust my block so that it's perfectly positioned there for the right side of the head. Right arm extending out straight from the shoulder, palm face up. Legs can be really in any position that's comfortable for you. So I like to have them loosely bent. That feels the most comfortable for me. Stacking one on top of the other. And then all I'm going to do here is bring my left hand behind me. So left hand behind, maybe somewhere around the area of the low back. Maybe a little lower down towards the hips. You can let your left shoulder open over towards the left ever so slightly. So you'll notice you have this kind of moderator of the stretch of moving the torso forwards and back. You can let the left shoulder open just a tiny bit, but really will be mostly firmly planted on our right side here. And if you like, you could bring the left hand underneath the right side waist. But remember, all we need is that first sensation of tug. Close the eyes, relax the jaw. We'll start to unwind the shape. So if the left hand is underneath, release it back somewhere behind. And then gently place the left arm along the length of the left side body. How aware can you become of all those subtleties, maybe effects of that stretch as you transition out of it? We'll take that over to the second side, so you can simply roll on over to your opposite side. I'm going to come to the other end of my mat so I can face you. And then make your way down to your left side, adjust the block for the head, left arm out in front of you. And then right hand comes behind. Again, you notice that lever there you have of opening the torso towards the ceiling, over to the side. You might just turn the shoulder a couple degrees or so, not very much at all, over towards the right, but we'll be mostly on the left side body, torso towards the left. And if you like, you can add the hand under the side waist. Release the right hand from underneath if you had it, and right arm along the right side of the body. We'll make our way up to a seat so that we can set up for our final shape before we come into a brief shavasana to end. So you'll want 2 blocks or books. If you can make those work, you might need to wrap them up in a towel. You could even find, if you have 2 similar height water bottles, that might be a nice substitute here, because we'll want the blocks on the highest height. Might be a little tricky with the books. And then I'm going to bring them right in line sort of with my ankle, heel, toes tucked under or tops of the feet, whichever you find more comfortable. And we're here kneeling. We're going to come into Maybe perhaps the most surprising yin pose of all, camel pose. We'll be there briefly, a few rounds of breath to connect with that spaciousness through the front of the body. So as you're ready, you'll be finding your way back towards the blocks with the hands. So hands one at a time, coming back to find the blocks. I like to bring the fingers kind of off the blocks to grip the front. And then send the hips forward. So you might feel this too. It's kind of a big stretch for the quads as well. And if that just feels like too much for you in the low back, you could certainly be here, hands somewhere along hip, sacrum, just leaning back, elbows pointing back. We have a few rounds of breath here. So it doesn't need to be your strongest or most active or most flexible camel ever, right? That's not really our idea here today. But instead, see if you can find a little bit of ease. Feel the alertness and aliveness that this pose creates through the whole front line of the body, through the chest, the space of the heart, the shoulders. You can tip the head back a little if that feels nice, maybe to open up the throat space. Two more breaths. And start to make your way up. Pause there, arms along the sides of the body. Make your way right in to your Shavasana. Feel the body land. Notice any effects of those poses, maybe camel pose, maybe even of the poses that came before that. Once again, notice wherever you're feeling that sensation or energy current in the body, draw all of your attention to that point or those points. And then from there, allow the focus to radiate out into every space of the body. Every space of the body now alert and alive. We'll make our way into our seat. And feel free to stay for a few extra moments in your Shavasana, tapping into that quality of aliveness. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.